without further ado, let's dive into this one. Hi everybody, this is Gringo Scott. Today we will be discussing spoilers for the movie Wonder Woman 1984. I decided to do something different with this one. So many people are giving their take as far as overall review on this, and I watched the movie and I thought, boy, it's going to be really hard not give spoilers on it, because like a big part of the excitement for me was what it was about, you know, or what was happening, some of the main things. I'm like, did they talk about that? And I look at some of the trailers, and I didn't feel like they even really showed anything in the trailer, so the ones I saw at least, so it made me a little nervous. I said, you know what, we're just going to do the spoiler one on this one. So this does have spoilers. What I want to do is I'm going to look at some of the critics, some of the YouTube critics that I agree with and disagree with, and we'll kind of discuss their opinion on it, and then I'll give my opinion on it if I agree or disagree. The ones we're going to do are Nerdroctic and Cody Leach. Now, Cody Leach seemed to have enjoyed the movie and had some issues with it. Nerdroctic was just tearing into it. I want to respond to that and talk about some of their issues and what I agree with or disagree with today. So that about Nerdroctic's review of Wonder Woman 1984. He said he thought Pedro Pascal was overrated and didn't do a good job on this one. He really ripped it. He didn't do that great of a job, blah, blah, blah. I disagree. What he's talking about, because Pedro Pascal's character, Maxwell Lord, I believe his name, he's a man that's all ego. He wants to look good for his son. He wants to be great. He wants to be adored. He wants people to love him. And he's a failing businessman, or he's willing to do scams and do things to look good. There's no meat to it, but he wants to look good for his kid. And when he gets this opportunity of an item, the stone, that allows him to grant wishes and get wishes. So he found out, well, I can make it to where I am the stone. Thereby, it doesn't limit the wishing, and I can just get people to wish for what they want. And then I can take, because when you make a wish with the stone then takes something of yours. There's one with this oil baron. He says, the guy says, I wish that it was like the old days of Egypt with the walls and blah, 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 the old empire. He says, granted. And I'm going to take your security force and all of your oil. See ya. So at that point, he's able to really feed his ego to be a great man. And it was manic. It was manic and crazy. And I think Pedro Pascal, not many actors could pull that off. I think he did a wonderful job at it. He really was convincing. He seemed like a TV evangelist that's like running high on this kind of crazy spiritual looniness that you see some of them get on, where they're just like, there's no reality, it's just what I want. It's like absolute power kind of thing. He did a really good job. In my opinion, Pedro Pascal did a wonderful job. He really helped add to the movie. I mean, he was mad with power. It was really well done. Something Nerdroctic said that I will have to agree with on, though, is Kristen Wiig. He saw Kristen Wiig, he's like, uh-oh, she's going to play Kristen Wiig. And she always plays Kristen Wiig really well. Carolyn, my wife, she's like, oh, it's Kristen Wiig. She's a little bummed out, too. She actually, I think, was a little bit not as unhappy with her performance. And I wasn't unhappy with her performance either. But I will agree that Kristen Wiig plays Kristen Wiig. There are plenty of actors that do that. But, we kind of like a certain actor to be them in movies. And that's how it is. Another actor that's like that was a very successful career, Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis plays Bruce Willis. So Bruce Willis playing Bruce Willis, being in different things. Another one is Sean Connery. He's notorious, in my opinion, for this. He was in Hunt for Red October, a wonderful movie. If you've never seen it, check it out. But he supposedly plays, this is so ridiculous, he supposedly plays a Russian submarine captain, and he had a Scottish accent. Like, you can't even work on changing your accent. Like, either that's super ego or lazy or what. But that's pretty piss poor. Like, that's pretty lame. So there are actors that only can play themselves, but people like to see them. But I agree, Kristen Wiig can seem to only play Kristen Wiig. This is the next YouTuber I'd like to talk about. He says he really enjoyed Chris Pine in this movie. I would agree with that as well. Cody Leach, his review, he was pretty kind with it in general. He didn't really tear into it too much, but he did have some things he didn't like. But one thing he said he did like was he liked Christopher Pine's character and interaction in the movie. The Gal Gadot's character, Wonder Woman. The issue I had with this relationship thing is, so she made a wish, and it wasn't real clear that she made the wish. They could have made that more clear, but she made the wish that she wished Steve was back, which is Chris Pine's character. He comes back, but he comes back in the taking over a body. And I don't know if they thought that was a clever way to like bring him back, because then it's like some man back, hey, I know you, and she's like, hey, why are you getting away from me? And it's like, oh, it's you. But yeah, and that actor does a lot of Hallmark commercials, apparently. The one that actually was supposedly Chris Pine. That then Chris Pine was in the body, and then she started seeing Chris Pine in the guy, and that's how they did it. But like, they didn't address the fact that you've taken some guy's life over. Neither her nor Steve thought, gosh, you just stole someone's life. They had a life. Probably their job's wanting them to know when they're coming to work and stuff. So that was a little bit lame. I didn't like that at all about that. I think they could have just, I mean, you're talking about magic that literally can make walls appear in Egypt. So just to make him appear. Why'd you got to do that? Because then that makes it disturbing. I'm like, what kind of character are you, Wonder Woman, where you don't even care about that you just stole someone's life or something, and their family wonders where they're at? And I mean, at some point you think maybe this person's brother might come by and be like, hey, what's going on? Why haven't you called me or whatever? So that was a little bit not thought out there. I wish they just had not even done that. That would have been easy to just remove. Cody Leach says that he didn't like the shift in the movie where it got super intense. It like turned up to like 11 on the dial of 10 as far as intensity. But I think that was how it went. Like wish after wish after wish. It's getting more intense. It's affecting more things. Maxwell Lord's desire to be loved and adored mixed with the Stone's desire to grant wishes and take power. They combined, and he was literally becoming this force, taking more and more with him. As he got wishes, it was causing disruptions in reality and starting to get worse and worse and worse and worse. And I think that, I disagree. I think that that served a purpose. That was part of the intensity. Like, it should be getting really intense because this force of this guy granting wishes is starting to disrupt reality to the point of like, it's going to destroy it. I think I definitely enjoyed that it did turn up like that. It is a little bit different than the normal superhero movies, and if you're going to expect that, you wouldn't like it. Cody Leach also mentions, one more thing I'd like to say, guys, he mentions that he thinks that possibly the fact that I went straight to streaming this movie is kind of a problem. It's written and made for the big screen, and I agree. It isn't the same as the movie theater experience. Having people next to you, being super excited, the anticipation of the day of going to the movies, the popcorn, the soda, the theater in general, the super sound. I mean, there were things this where you'd probably been rocked. Would have been awesome. And the movie was made for that. So some of the awe in turning up, like Cody Leach said, he didn't like. I think that's because maybe, he could tell us obviously, but maybe because you couldn't get pulled into it. You know, he said he liked the musical score, but you know, you couldn't get pulled into it as much. They didn't have control over what media you were watching on. So guys, overall, I really like this movie. My wife enjoyed it too. I liked it. I'm not ripping into it. I think it's unique. I think it's an interesting take. Guys, I recommend this movie, obviously. Comment down below saying, how do you think that the fact that this wasn't in the movie theater affected your enjoyment of it if you've seen it?
Peace, yeah, boy.